Welcome to episode 6 of our first time healing in World of Warcraft. In our previous episode, we broke the healing meters, hit Keystone Master, had 41 deaths in Everbloom, and had more wipes on Lardar than I can count. But we are so close to Keystone Hero, will this video be our last one of our healing journey? Let's find out. Welcome to another episode on Soothe Daddy. Currently, Soothe Daddy is item level 472. And with a mythic rating of 2,233. We only need 267 more points and we have completed the challenge. Our first task is to complete 4 mythic dungeons from the weekly quest from Khazra. We can complete this quest by doing mythic zeros and mythic plus dungeons. But it is also vault day, so I'm going to check and open my vault first. And once we have done 4 dungeons on mythic level, we will collect the quest later. In my vault, we only have 3 items this week. I got boots in raid section and 2 hands in dungeon section. The only item we've taken from the vault is the hands at 480 iron level, which are mythic. We take the hands without simming the vault, and we fly over to the Catalyst and change these mythic hands into tier set. Now we can swap over our hero hand for mythic. Not a bad little upgrade. Before we get into some Mythic Plus, we attempt to try and get the Love Rocket mount from the dungeon in the Love is in the Air event. Unfortunately, we don't get the mount and just receive love tokens. Oh well, I will just try tomorrow. So now it's time to get stuck into some Mythic Plus. This week's affixes are Tyrannical, so the bosses have more health and do more damage, Storming, starting at level 8 keys and higher, and Raging, starting at level 14 keys and higher. This week's affixes are not that bad. I think it's a good week to push and see if we can reach Keystone Hero. Our first dungeon I'm thinking of doing is an Everbloom, as our current Everbloom key we have completed is only a 10. So if we complete it on a 17 or higher, we will get quite a few points. We get accepted into a 17 Everbloom and make our way to the dungeon. The group comp for this dungeon is a Shaman, Mage and Death Knight for DPS, and a Monk tank. The first pulls the tank did were great. A lot better than the single pack mobs the other tank did in our last episode. I don't think I'll ever get over that pug group. 41 deaths and it took us over 1 hour to complete the key. We cruised through the dungeon until we reached the second to last boss, the Archmage Soul. This is one of my least favourite bosses this season. Tons of stuff on the floor to dodge, don't get caught in the orbs or you'll get stunned, and watch out not to be sucked in, which I get caught in this mechanic every time. I do actually die in this boss on this run. She starts casting her raining fire mechanic. I dodged the first one and I think I'm out of range on the second one, but I get hit and die. Luckily I get a battle res and eventually we kill her. We move on to the final boss of the Everbloom and defeat him also, completing the 17 Everbloom, giving us 34 points. We return to Valdrakken and start getting into looking at our next key, which the ones I desperately need to do are the Dawn of the Infinite Rise and Galakrond's Fall. Even with these 2 dungeons on a 17 or 18, I think I still will need to do 1 or 2 19s. Pretty scary to think I'm going to be doing keys at level 19, but I'm sure everything will just be fine. Our next key we get accepted into is at 18 Galakrond's Fall. The group comp for this dungeon is a Shaman, Mage and Demon Hunter for DPS, and a Paladin tank. Since it's Tyrannical week, all the mobs are not hard to kill, so the tank pulls all the mobs at the beginning of the dungeon. These moments at the start of every dungeon, or just when you pull big packs, are my favourite part of Mythic Plus. Doing big pulls and doing big numbers on details is really fun to do. My favourite dungeons for big pulls I have done so far was Freehold last season. Let me know in the comments what was your favourite dungeon and how high your DPS went. We get to the second boss, which everybody knows in these videos I hate, and I perform pretty badly on this attempt. I start not running the same way as the orbs are coming out from the boss. Then the mage is out of range of my healing. It makes me move closer to him so I can heal him more, making me not concentrate on where the orbs are coming from. So I get hit once, panic a little and get hit again and die. Luckily I have reincarnation, I res myself and walk straight back into some more orbs. So yeah, not doing so well today on this boss. Let's hope the Paladin has a battle res so we can finish the fight. The Paladin does have a battle res, but we only have the Shaman, Paladin and myself to finish the boss. I do pick myself back up again and start performing better and we finally kill the boss. Hopefully I will never have to come back to see this boss ever again if we achieve Keystone Hero. We get to part of the dungeon before we have to fight a Ridicron. Now, the rest of the group is wanting to skip and use invis pots, which I don't have, but kindly the other shaman passes me one. So let's see how much we can skip. We all put our invis pots on and start walking through the mobs. Unfortunately, it doesn't work. My invis pot the shaman passed me was only a rank bronze, so it did not last longer than everybody else's. The demon hunter was the same. He got tagged by a mob straight away and got one shot. The tank did not realise and went a bit too far ahead and pulled more than what he thought. And I die also because my invis pot ran out too, which causes the whole group to wipe. We all release, and this time we're just going to do it normally and not invis. We still have enough time to finish the key though. Eventually we do get to Eredicron and defeat him, timing the 18 Galakrond's fall, which gives us 33 points to our mythic rating. We return to Valdrakken and I take a trip to the auction house to buy more health potions. Just to tell you all, I haven't got a single enchant on any of my gear while doing this challenge, apart from my head enchant from Raid. To be honest, I just forgot and sometimes I haven't been able to afford it. Next we go to the upgrade vendor and upgrade our mythic hands to 489, which are now max item level. I have a lot of flight stones but no Drake crests. If I want to upgrade more items, I need to do keys lower than a 16 for more Drake crests. But I don't think that's really going to matter really, we are high enough item level for what we are doing anyway. Our next key is an 18 Warcraft mana. The group comp for this dungeon is a paladin, mage and warlock for DPS and a warrior tank. We start the dungeon off pretty well, but I notice on the first pull the mage is doing between 30k and 50k damage, which is not enough for the 18 key. Obviously this makes me think it's the mage's key, as I see a lot of these keys where a low item level player gets other players to carry them to finish the key, which in my eyes doesn't seem fair to the rest of the group. Everybody in the group should be pulling their own weight through the dungeon. I'm not going to say anything to him because sometimes you can actually complete the dungeon with this type of group, but after the first boss the warrior actually says something to him and the mage takes it to heart, and you guessed it, he leaves the key. Obviously with the mage leaving, no one else in the group wanted to continue. We head back to Valdrakken and search for another Warcraft mana. This time I get accepted into a 19. This is my highest key yet, which I'm super pumped about because this will really boost my confidence and show how far I've come on this healing journey. The group comp for this dungeon is a paladin, evoker and mage for DPS with a warrior tank. And to be honest, this dungeon went really smoothly. Well, apart from me needing repair in the middle of the dungeon, and no one had an anvil for me to repair. So when I died, I respawned back at the beginning of the dungeon and went outside and repaired my gear. After repairing, I went straight back into the dungeon to continue. We only had the last boss to defeat, but time was against us. We only had 2 minutes and 50 seconds to defeat him. This boss does not do too much damage, so I know I can DPS a lot more here. I start using lava bursts and as much single target attacks as possible while keeping everybody alive. It literally comes down to the last few seconds and with 1 second left, we finish the key. Wow, I don't think I've ever had a dungeon that close to timing. Our next key, we get accepted into an 18 Throne of Tides. Now the last time we did this key was on a 15 and we failed the key, so this should give me a good amount of points for completing it. The group comp for this dungeon is a warrior, hunter and paladin for DPS and a demon hunter tank. We get to the first boss, Lady Nazjar, and before we start the fight the warrior goes AFK, and then he goes offline. The group continues the fight knowing we are 1 DPS short. Hopefully the warrior will come back. The group actually does well and kills Lady Nazjar, having 0 deaths and heading to the second boss. And just in the nick of time the warrior returns to the group and we continue the dungeon. After the messy start with the warrior, the rest of the dungeon was a breeze. We finished the key with only 6 deaths and 8 minutes left on the clock, which gave us a massive 47 points to our mythic score. We actually got some loot this time, the Spire Staff, but we don't actually need it, so I'll just sell it for gold. We return to Valdrakken and head back to Khazra to hand in the quest for completing 4 mythic dungeons. We open the box and receive the Kindler's Greatstaff, which we don't need. So just another thing for more gold. After this, we search for our last key of the night and get accepted into a 19 Rise. The comp for this dungeon is a hunter, priest and demon hunter for DPS with another demon hunter tank. The first boss of course in any Rise is the Gauntlet. Let's see how we do this week. And what do you know, we actually did it again. We continue the dungeon and unfortunately I died to some of the ads mechanics. I release and for some strange reason I respawn back at the beginning of the dungeon. I'm very puzzled at this point because I'm sure I'm supposed to spawn back after the gauntlet. So if you don't open the portal, it doesn't set the respawn after the gauntlet. So that's a lesson for me and everybody watching this video. Always open the portal after the gauntlet for the respawn. So I have to run the gauntlet again to get through. Hopefully I can get through a second time and carry on with the dungeon. Or my group comes back and finishes the portal. Luckily I make it through the gauntlet a second time and the group actually comes back also to the portal. At least we got back, that's the main thing. Even with this little hiccup at the start, we do manage to time the key. We have 9 minutes left and only 7 deaths, giving us a total of 49 points to our mythic score. Now after doing those 5 dungeons, our mythic score now is 2,425. So we only need 75 more points to get to Keystone Hero. If you want to see more content of our healing journey or any other challenge that we do, I stream live on Twitch, TikTok and YouTube. The link for all my socials are in the description of the video. Also, all the episodes of Soodaddy are all on a playlist on YouTube so you can easily find them. Anyways, back to the video. We return back on Soodaddy and I am so pumped we are only 75 more points till we hit Keystone Hero. I think we can actually do this. But before we start some Mythic Plus, time to attempt the love rocket again. And nope, still nothing, just love tokens again. Let me know in the comments if you got the love rocket this year or how many years you've actually been attempting it. Before we get into any mythic dungeons, I head to the upgrade vendor. We upgrade our offhand shield to item level 480. And again, that's all I can do. All the rest of my items need Drake Crest, which I don't have any. Our first dungeon of the night is a 19 Altazar. The group comp is a hunter, demon hunter and monk for DPS, and a warrior tank. We kill the first boss, which is the big skeleton dinosaur, but then the tank decides to go to the mobs which cast wildfire stuff all over the floor. I absolutely hate these ads. I think the other side is a lot more easier in my opinion. After fighting these mobs for around a good 5 to 8 minutes, we now have 16 deaths. I think this actually proves my point that this side is really not a good idea if you're pugging. Hopefully we can still pull this dungeon off even with a bad start. And within 9 minutes left we actually reach Yasma. She is definitely going to be tough as Yasma on Tyrannical is no joke. While fighting we are supposed to stack when we get the arrows above our heads. Once the arrows go away, some ads will pop underneath us, which we need to stun and kill them before they reach Yasma. Unfortunately on the first one, only me and the hunter decide to keep far away from Yasma, while the monk and demon hunter stand there and let Yasma collect the ads. Surely you'd think with people doing N19 would know what they're doing. I think this is the first time I've seen people not do this mechanic. Luckily we've survived the mechanic and carry on as normal with the fight. The demon hunter unfortunately takes a hit from the spiders and dies, and leaves just 4 of us to finish the key. We finish the key with 7 minutes left, 21 deaths and we gain 33 points to our mythic score. Not a bad key to start us off. There were a few mistakes, but the most important thing is we timed the key. I don't hesitate and find our next key, which is an 18 Dark Heart Thicket. The comp for this dungeon is a mage, priest and paladin with a warrior tank. Now this dungeon I really don't enjoy so much. It's not that it's a bad dungeon, it just doesn't look as cool as some of the other dungeons. But even though I don't think it looks cool, we still have to do it. I actually died to a few silly mistakes in this dungeon. First was I stepped into one of the green mushrooms that the ad spawns. Then the tree boss did his frontal attack on me, which I didn't even know he had a frontal attack. And the third time was not my fault. On the dragon boss where he does his gust of wind, the mage goes flying and brings back a lot of dragon babies with him and kills me in the process. Thanks mage. Luckily I get a battle res and we continue the fight. After all these silly deaths we do manage to time the key, giving me 26 more points to my mythic score, leaving only 18 more points to reach Keystone Hero. The next dungeon we face is a 17 Black Rook hold. To be honest, this dungeon could not have been more perfect. Well, apart from me being squished by a boulder. But apart from that, we had 1 death and killed the boss within 17 minutes to go on the timer, giving me 10 points to our mythic score. We are so close. I can taste this Keystone Hero achievement. Just one more key and we've got this in the bag. We return to our dragon to look for hopefully our final key. We get accepted into a 19 Everbloom. But before we start a key, we need a tank. The group leader had listed the group for around 20 minutes while we were stood here in Everbloom. I was wondering, why is it taking so long to get a tank? No one is even signing up either. Then I looked closer at the group listing. The leader has had it set to Mythic, not Mythic Plus. So I told him what I saw and he quickly changed it to Mythic Plus and we finally found a tank. I can't believe I sat there for 20 minutes waiting for the group to form. I had to laugh how silly it was. Okay, let's start this key. The comp for this dungeon was a Warlock, Monk, an Evoker for DPS, and a Demon Hunter tank. We start the dungeon off pretty well. We pull the first boss with 2 packs of ads and kill the boss also. The second boss goes down pretty easily also, but we have my not so favourite boss to fight, the Archmage Soul. While fighting, the Evoker goes down once and then twice, but things get worse. As a man in my own business healing away, whatever this mechanic is called that sucks you in, gets me and pulls me into the fire on the floor, which leads me to die. I really thought I was far enough away not to be pulled in by it. Luckily, we have a battle res and I carry on the fight. But as the boss is on 11% health, she does the same mechanic and pulls me and the monk into the fire. And once again, leading me to my death. But what's this? The Demon Hunter tank is being Superman and taking on the boss alone? The boss only has a little bit of health left. Come on tank, you can do this. And what an ending. The tank actually pulled it off, killing Archmage Soul. The rest of the group releases and mounts up and heads to the final boss. We start fighting the final boss. He does moderate damage to the group now and again. I keep pressing my cooldowns to keep us topped up and making sure he is in no position to hurt us. And within 7 minutes left on the clock, we defeat the final boss of the Everbloom dungeon, making our final score 2,511, reaching our goal to Keystone Hero. After we finished the fight, I was actually a little bit in shock that I actually pulled this challenge off. But we did it, ladies and gentlemen, from level 0 to 70, then to Keystone Hero, on my very first healer. And it only took me 6 weeks to complete. I just want to say thank you to everybody who watched any of the Sooth Daddy healing videos and all the tips you have gave me in stream and comments on the YouTube videos. I really appreciate it. So if you've watched our video all the way to the end, here is our next challenge we are going to be doing. We are going to be playing Arcane Mage as it's one of the hardest rotations in the game, as voted by you guys on our YouTube community. We have to reach 3k rating on our mythic score and complete a heroic raid. Only Pugging, no help from anybody. But there's a big twist. No add-ons, no weak auras, no gold transfers, and no auction house. I will be starting this challenge 3 weeks before the 4th season starts, so it gives me a chance to get started on leveling and professions, which I think I'm going to be doing a lot of them. If you want to see me doing it live, I will be streaming it live on Twitch, YouTube, and TikTok. Again, thank you everybody for watching my journey on my first healer. Please like, comment on the video, tell me what you think about our next challenge. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more videos from me, but for now, I'll see you in the next one.